Just to give you in comparison, here in Windhoek, the average rainfall per year is about 350 millimeters in the year. Yeah? The evaporation for Windhoek is about 1,500 millimeters per year. So we're actually getting drier every year, although there's rain coming, just because the evaporation is so high. And it wasn't like that. It is because the landscapes have been degraded. So we're losing more water than we are getting from the rain. The more trees we remove from the landscape, the less grass there is in the landscape. So if we're not herding our animals properly, we are just losing moisture. Like Clemens was explaining, when the rain is falling, it's just running off. And it's not seeping in. That's because the landscape cannot absorb that water anymore. We don't have that soil, spongy soil. Where was that? Remember, we were talking about that top layer that needs to be like a sponge. If this doesn't exist, the water will just run off out. So we have to look at all the mechanisms we can put in place to recreate the sponge. So one is digging that swale along contour. It catches the water. It doesn't have to be a swale. I'll show you some examples that are much easier. Swale is probably the trickiest of them all. A much easier ways. And it also depends on the landscape. Okay. So any other challenges? I hope that gives you a bit of an idea what to do. Look for plants that can be really thick at the bottom. You can obviously use stones, but in some areas like yours, you probably don't have stones. You do, river stones.
Okay. One of the main challenges that we have in my area are termites. We have a lot of termites.
Yes.
So it was mentioned yesterday that we need organic matter like around our trees. But the minute you do that, if you do it today, tomorrow morning they will be there enjoying whatever it is that you put there. So what can we do?
Yeah. I think termites is probably I find termites a bigger issue than elephants, because they are silent. They're coming from underneath, and they, like I told you, I've lost many trees in the system from termites. I just come into the garden and I see the trees lying in there. And pick it up, the whole root is gone. Yeah? Although there's a lot of organic material in here. If you look at this is in the rows, you see there's grass, lots of grass here, and these rows themselves, all the material I cut here goes down to the row. So I'll show you some photos of that just now. So termites. Termites have been studied too little, I think. We don't know anything about them, not much. There was one biologist, I think it was in South Africa, who wrote a really interesting book about termites, but it doesn't help us farmers much. What I do realize from working, especially in the northeastern parts over the last 4 years, is that we have termite mounds, and this is almost the entire country. Termite mounds at almost every 50 meters in every direction. There's a termite mound or a termite colony underneath. Some don't make these things. Some just are underneath the ground. Every 50 meters in every direction in the entire country. So they're everywhere. Each colony can have up to about 5 million little animals, little insects. So we are never going to get rid of them. We shouldn't, because the termites are the earthworms of the dry region. We don't have earthworms in the country. We only have earthworms along the river. And that's because earthworms need very moist soils. Termites don't. Yeah. So the termites, what they do is they eat organic material and they take it down into the ground. You know what they do with it down there? No. They chew it up, they spit it out, and they glue it to the walls of their chambers. They've got very interesting chambers. They've got their own air conditioning system, so they can keep the temperature at exactly 32 degrees, 34, whatever it needs to be down there. And there's a ventilation system, so there's constant airflow. They are mushroom farmers. They grow mushrooms. Because termites don't eat grass. They don't eat the wood that they are taking from above. It's the food for the mushrooms that they are growing. They eat the mushroom. That's why the mayovas pop out of the termite mounds when the rainy season comes. because it's too much moisture in the soil, and suddenly the mushroom that they're farming at the bottom is coming through the top.
I want to know with them what I kept doing is I I I mix chili with mint
Mm-hmm.
and I just make sure that it's in a bigger container and then I perhaps water my plants. That part where I'm seeing they're coming out or they're trying to ruin the whole story. And then I just water that part with that.
Mm-hmm.
I wanna know now. Does it chase it away or does it kills? If perhaps you can be able to.
I don't know. I don't know if it will affect them at all, because like birds, for instance, can't taste chili. They don't. A bird cannot taste chili. They doesn't know if it's hot or not. They don't care. So they'll eat the chili.
So we just eat it.
Termites, I don't know. Maybe they don't like it.
Yeah, because that really helps
It helps
for me.
Oh, that's
Or
good
even
to
I
know.
crush actually at that time and then I just put a bit of water and then when
Soaks in.
it soaks in, you later just realize it's not coming there anymore. You have started another site and then
Okay,
you do the one.
that's really interesting to
it's
know.
not.
So see, this is what that's why I'm saying this. We need to study termites a little bit more in the context of agriculture, because we are all challenged by it. But we don't, if we don't understand our problem, our pest, the termite, we don't know how to deal with it. So if we know that chili is something that they don't like, then it's something we can maybe look at how can we incorporate it. Yeah. So we could maybe go along and regularly water our system with chili water. It won't affect the plant, but maybe it will keep the termites away. That's an option. So there's still a lot of trial and error that we need to do to find what might work. The other thing I just want to mention to the termites, and it's the same thing with most of the pests, the mole that you were talking about, or the elephant, or any of these creatures that are coming into our gardens, is that we are degrading the landscape outside, the greater landscape. Yes.
I also, if I'm not mistaken, I heard yesterday you were talking about like when the cabbages are ready, you don't remove them with their,
I don't pull them with the
you
roots.
don't pull them with their roots. So in case now maybe you want to plant in tomato after the cabbage has removed, what do you do with the remaining roots in the
cabbage?
Mm.
It will decompose. It will rot very quickly. Yeah, and then it will, like I said here, when the root of any plant decomposes, creates these channels, these pathways for the water and the air to seep deep into the soil. So there's a practice which we use in organic farming, biodynamic, permaculture, whatever you want to call it, all these alternative practices to the big mainstream, main conventional agriculture, is we plant radishes. You get this, it's called a daikon radish. It's a Japanese radish. It's long, like a carrot, but it's thick like this. And it goes about this long. So what we do is we plant when you have hard soil. It is really hard, compacted soil. And you want to break it up very quickly. You plant this radish. It grows very fast, makes big roots. You don't harvest it. It's very tasty. It's very peppery, like chili almost. But you leave the root in the ground and you just let it die. You don't harvest it. And it creates these big holes in the soil, but it will rot. So it will decompose. It will be eaten by the bacteria and the fungi that we were talking about. And it creates these almost like fertility, concentrated fertility structures in the soil. So first of all, it makes the soil loose because it opens it up. But it also creates a lot of fertility, very concentrated within the bed. And then you plant something else after that, already while it's growing.
Okay.
Hmm.
Now, after doing that, leaving it there, for how long should you wait for it to rot?
Oh, you don't need to wait. It will happen by itself. You can just go on with your business.
So you don't turn the
No.
ground, you
No,
don't
no, no.
fix, just start planting.
So what they were
immediately.
doing in Komuk there is a bit of a challenge. This breaking of the soil and pulling out those onions is just kind of repeating this process over and over again. That's why they every year have to do it again, because they are breaking the soil and they are removing everything by hand. Next year they have the same problem again. Yeah. If you don't want to do that, stop pulling out things. Put things on top. You can kill the onions by just putting a thick layer of mulch and manure on top of them. They will die. Yeah. Some will come through, especially around the edge, but you will smother most of them. So it's about more layering, more layers, more layers, more layers. So when I can show you here what here. So I'll talk a little bit about the rows later, but this is here there I've got trees in here, and this is biomass. So all of this material gets cut only to feed this row. But in the whole garden, you will not see soil. There's no soil here. This is thick grass like this. Yeah, it's a lot of grass. Here I've got two vegetable lines. These are two vegetable lines. I never ever dig in there. I dug once before this was a garden, and I'm never ever going to dig there again. Yeah. The only thing I pull out is carrots. Everything else gets cut. No? And I come in with manure. I've got cow manure, so it's a cattle farm. There's plenty of cattle there. And most places in Namibia have livestock. Yeah? We need to utilize the manure of the livestock because it's so valuable. So I put manure and then I put grass. Like I said to you, whenever you put manure in your fields or in your garden, try and cover it up immediately. Yeah? Or compost. Yeah? So I just layer on top. I have no grass anymore. Before it looked like that. There was no more grass that grows in the area. Everywhere. There's no more grass. And it's not coming again. And it's not coming again. And those onions will not have time to grow here. They can't. They can't. Because there's only the things I seed in there, or the birds that bring in seed. So occasionally you have something, but those are more trees and bushes. So at Komok in the big garden, they don't have enough grass on their ground. You could also see the pathways were very exposed. They were very open. There wasn't grass in the path. Yeah? So it's lacking. I guess they have challenge with giving the grass to the milk cows, so they can't use it in the garden. No? I'm a bit more fortunate here because there's a lot of fields on this farm that are being cut for straw bale, and when you stack up straw bale, there's always a lot of grass left at the bottom, more than enough for me to have. So we need to look for opportunity, especially with other farming activities. So we talk about animal integration and how extremely important this is for whatever other activities you want to do. Right. Any other questions? Challenges? Challenges? Yes.
The mic.
Oh, the mic.
Um, we are staying in the sandy area. Our area is too sandy. So it makes that we cannot produce food.
The water just drops very quickly.
What can we do in that case?
Same thing. This is the same. This is north of Otjiwarongo. This is the same. I'm close to the Kalki Mountains, the limestone mountains. But the sand, if I water there, you can hear it just disappears. So what you need to do is you need to change your topsoil. This upper layer has to become dark in color. It needs to look like compost. It needs to look like cow manure, kind of, that is old. Yeah, it needs to be full of organic material. Remember what I said, 1% of organic material in your soil can hold 1,200 liters per hectare. Yeah. In my topsoil now, and this is only six months old, before there was only sand. In the topsoil here, I probably have 15% organic material now already because I brought in so much material. Yeah. I haven't been watering maybe for 2 or 3 weeks. If you put your hands in there, it's still wet. or moist at least, not wet, but moist. Yeah. So we need to create the sponge. When you take a sponge, you dip it in the water and you pull it out. What happens? But there's water running, and then at some point it stops running. You squeeze it, it still is running again. So the water, once this becomes a sponge, the water won't run away anymore. It will stay there. So one thing we didn't talk about yesterday is charcoal, biochar. Yeah, you've heard biochar before? Okay. So what you can do is you can make charcoal, and ideally you want to, when you make charcoal, you burn wood with very little oxygen, very little air. Some of you live in areas where people make charcoal. You make a pile of wood and you cover with sand. The reason why we cover it with sand, or when maybe you burn it in the big metal containers, there's a lid. So there's not a lot of air like when you make it. The reason is when you make too much air, it burns and becomes ash. Huh? When you burn it slow with very little oxygen, it stays charcoal. Yeah? Now, the, the charcoal we make for gardens is not exactly the same because that charcoal is made for drying or for heating. But it's very similar. You can still use that charcoal. You can use the charcoal that you have from your own fire. But when we make charcoal specifically for gardens, very easy. You just dig a hole in the ground that looks like this. When you look from the top, it's just round, a bit flat in the middle. This thing is about 1 meter at the top, and it goes down like that. So it's about this deep. You just dig in the sand, something that looks like a pan, but it has to be, can't be straight down. It must be like this. Then you put a few sticks here, and you light this up. That makes a nice fire in there. Once this is burning properly, and you take sticks that are like finger thick, thumb thick, nothing bigger than that, one small stick. Once this burns, you put a whole nother load of sticks on top. Yeah? Once they start going white on the outside, once the sticks are getting a little bit of ash on the outside, you put the next load of sticks on top until they get a little bit of white ash, and the next one, and the next one, until you fill the whole thing up so it's all nicely full with burned sticks. And then you put water on it. Yeah, you have to quench it, you have to kill it, you have to stop it from burning, otherwise all of it will become ash. No? Then you end up with charcoal that is like this, so a little bit thinner, nice, almost like pencils, easy to break. And you don't need to break it much. Just take it, put it in a bag, like where you have salt or, you know, these white bags that we have. Put it in there and jump around on it a bit. So you crush it a little bit, or you put it in a, what do you call the thingy? You pound it a bit. You don't have to. Yeah? What you can do is you can also take it, and remember we saw the cows, the milk cows were in the floor with the grass at the bottom, where the roof was, or the chickens. Clement showed us the chicken pen with the grass at the bottom where they sleep in the manure fall. You can throw this in there, yeah, because you don't want to add this charcoal straight to the garden. Then it will take the nutrients out of the soil, especially the life that's in the soil will move into the charcoal because the charcoal is housing for the microorganisms. The bacteria moves into the charcoal. It's free housing. Yeah. And then they will first sit in their new house and enjoy their new house, and they will not be working for your plants. And you will see it. Your plants will go yellow very quickly. Yeah. So first put them in the crawl. You can also take fresh cow manure, put it in a bucket, put some water in it, make a fresh cow manure soup. And you throw the charcoal in there and you charge it. Call that charging charcoal. So it becomes alive with lots of living organisms from the cow manure. Cow manure, fresh cow manure, has a lot of bacteria that are beneficial for the soil. The same bacteria that you find here, you will find in the cow's stomach. Yeah? So you can also take fresh cow manure and put it in your garden, but not too much. Rather put it in water, mix it, and put the water in it. That's better. Yeah? But charcoal has the possibility, one little piece of charcoal can hold 5 times its volume in water. Sounds a bit weird, but When you put charcoal in water, what does it do? Can you hear something? It's sucking the water, right? Okay, so if we add charcoal into our soils, it holds water, but it also holds life. Yeah, yeah, the bacteria. It's the housing for bacteria. So one little piece of charcoal the size of my fingernail is the equivalent of housing like New York City for bacteria. So millions of bacteria will be able to live in one little piece of charcoal like this. Yeah.
Although this land is in a communal area, as our culture. Yeah. Now, the way we live in Zambezi, we still live in large communities. Now, the challenge we have, number one, is water. Otherwise, if I had access to equipment, I tell you I could feed the whole Zambezi and even extend to the whole Namibia, because my land is very big. It's well fenced. It's well prepared. I prepared it. I said the first challenge is water. The second challenge I'm experiencing, I'm living in a bushy area with very huge trees. If I don't remove them, I will not manage planting anything there. So it forces me to uproot every year, to remove the trees. But what gives me a bit of benefit, I don't burn. I don't even allow burning in my farm. Yes, so most of the leaves will fall in the farm, and the thick trunks of trees, those are the ones we remove out. That is another challenge, removing those trees every year. The third one, now I come to the community around us. We have a member who owns more than 500 cattle. And he cries to us that, please give me your area for grazing. And if those 500 cattle goes into our field, I find it very difficult, because the other time I experienced that where he was grazing, the part of the farm where we allowed him to graze, the soil, my dear, became sand. Then I realized, since I have a little bit knowledge of agriculture, I know what happens to the soil if you keep a lot of animals there, and if that soil is for crop farming. At the end of the day, you won't produce. Then I went back to him. He is an education officer also, he did agriculture. I explained it to him. I told him, you know this, you know it, you learned it. Please, will you excuse me? Hatred comes. The whole family, they don't like us now. So what should I do?
Yeah, I think that several challenges. One is that what we've been taught in schools and in university previously in agriculture and even today and in engineering is not right. Okay. There's a lot of things that we've been taught that makes us design farms that look like, where's this picture? No, another direction. This is what we're taught in agriculture. We're supposed to do this. This is not what we're supposed to do. This is what has created the food insecurity on the entire planet Earth over the last 50 to now 70 years. And we're still teaching this in universities today, and we still think this is what we're supposed to do. And it's not. You can use half this land and produce 3 times as much. Half this land to produce 3 times more. Why are we doing this then? And this costs a lot of money. This kills everything that used to live here. No insect, no animal that used to live in this land. This used to be a forest. Can't live here anymore. Yeah. So I want to talk a little bit about your cattle. I think bringing the cattle in is a great idea. How long you keep them in your place and how you keep them in your place is what is so crucial. So Clemens was talking about night crawling. Anybody heard that before? You've heard it, no? Somebody heard it, yes?
The what?
Night crawling. He said at night they put them in a small confinement. Yeah, you heard that, yeah. So night crawling is basically where you put up some kind of a structure. It can be an electric fence, it can be shade nets. I know in especially your area, there's a lady, Lisa Hansen, she does these line crawls because there are lots of lines in that area. And if you don't crawl your animals properly, they'll be gone. So they put up a fence that you can move. It needs to be something that you can move, not a permanent fence. That's why just poles with some shade net is great, because the lion, if it cannot see what is behind, even if it can smell the cow, it can hear the cow, it will not jump. It will not go through the shade net. Even if it can just go like this, it can go through. It will not do it. Even the baboon, it doesn't go through shade net if it cannot see what is there. Yeah? And the shade net is only 1.5 meters high. The lion can jump easy, will not jump. So this thing we need to be able to move. Yeah. So if you have a piece of land, yeah, let's say that the piece of land is this size. You can invite your neighbor with his cattle, maybe not all of them. You know, maybe you have to say, okay, you can only bring 20 or 25, and it needs to be so big that every animal only has 1.5 times its own size in space. So when the animals are in here, it is very packed. They can't move much. So it's only for the night for them to sleep. Yeah. So they come in here for one night. The next day they shift the crawl here. The next day they shift the crawl there. The next day they shift the crawl here. The next day they shift the crawl. So you have to shift this thing. So what do they do there? They manure and they urinate. And then they move. But they also trample the soil. They loosen it a bit, which is, you're saying it's a problem, but it's only a problem because it's at the moment it's very sandy. You want to change that structure. You want to, so bringing in the manure, the urine is fertilizer. All urine, also our urine, is fertilizer. Yeah. So I pee in my garden, but a lot of people don't do that, and they think, oh no, you can't do that. Urine is, if you are not sick, it is actually sterile. That's why in old times people used to pee on a wound to sterilize the wound. Yeah, they'll do some. Yeah, there you go, clever people. Instead of going to the shop and buying some expensive cream that does all kinds of stupid things. Anyways, so you shift along your property, then you go out, then they don't come back now. Unless it's big enough that you can actually work all the land and this one is already harvested and they can come back. So this is something where we start, it becomes complex because we need to plan properly. Yeah. So you can do this in a very big scale, you can do this in a very small scale. Somebody who's interested in chicken farming, easier than cattle. Yeah. You can do this with chicken. You can do this with goats or pigs. Goats are not so good. Pigs are really good at this. Yeah. So you can move your animal along your land, and once you've moved, you grow things here. Because the soil is loosened up, here it's fertilized. Yeah. And now you can go in and plant. If you have the possibility to irrigate, so we get the water just now, then you can obviously plant at any time of the year, depending on what you're planting at what time of the year. So now it's very cold. There's only certain things that will grow now. Yeah? But you can do this very easily. For chickens, for instance, the best system I've ever seen was in Zambia. There's a guy who takes these fish nets that the Chinese bring. It's, maybe you've seen it. It's got this, they call it monofilament. Looks like the material is like mosquito net, but the holes are big like this. Yeah, very cheap. Chinese bring it in very cheap. It's actually illegal to fish with it on the Zambezi River, for instance, because you catch almost every fish with it. but they have tons and tons of this stuff. Fisheries takes out lots and lots of these nets every year. So what he did, he just put some poles that you can, just thin poles that you can pull out and stick in somewhere. He attached this net to it, only this high. And he just puts them every day in a new area, and he keeps his chickens in there. They don't fly over. Some, maybe one or two, they're the naughty ones, but the others won't. And the reason is, all of them at some point will try and get through this net. And they get stuck in it with their feathers and everything. They hate it. It's like electric fence. They just don't go there anymore. Yeah? And then you can move your chickens. The chickens will loosen only the top soil. They don't loosen the deeper part of the soil. So that's fine. They manure a little bit, which is very potent. Chicken manure is extremely high in phosphates, so you have to be careful with it. Never put too much chicken manure. But they take out all the seeds that they can find and all the insects. Yeah? So they make it clean. Yeah? We're also going to talk a little bit about this tidiness and dirtiness, because it's not like that. We can talk about that as well. So you can move your chickens along, and once you've moved them, you start planting out your whatever you want to grow. Yeah. So and you can have the different versions where you move the whole chicken pen, so the chicken house is on wheels, and you move the whole thing. But you could also have maybe a chicken house in the middle, and then you just have these fences going out. You just move the fence around, and the chickens always sleep here at night. Huh? Chickens poo mainly at night. That's why it's good to have the straw underneath where they are sitting, because then you have a mixture of straw and poo, which you can then use to make compost. Or what I do is bring it straight into my garden. I don't make so much compost because it's a lot of work. Let the compost happen in the garden. No, I would never do such a thing. No, my field is here. So, yeah. Okay, water. Let's touch on water, because for who is water access a problem? Who's got water access issues?
Before you touch on water,
Yes.
I wanted to
Oh, some questions, of course. Yeah.
I wanted to know, I might perhaps have missed that part, but I wanted to know if is it any type of tree that one can be able to burn, or are there specific trees that one needs to?
Well, there are some that are I prefer palm leaves, for instance, because when you burn a palm leaf to charcoal, you can take a big piece like this in your hand and you just crush it.
Palm leaf.
From the palm leaves, especially. Yeah, so everything that is light, like ongongo nut in the northeast, or mopani is very hard. It's a high mineral, so there's lots of minerals in the charcoal. The harder the wood is, the higher the mineral content. Yeah, that's why Namibia has the best charcoal in the whole world, because our mineral content is so high. But the soft ones are easy to break down. No? But if you take smaller sticks like finger, really don't go for anything bigger than finger. The other things you use for making fire, why burn that and make it and put it in the garden? Take the small things that you can collect underneath the trees or even take out of the trees. Yeah? But softer woods make charcoal that is easier to crush. You don't want big pieces like this in your garden. You want smaller pieces. But again, this is something where we all need to just experiment a little bit. Don't be scared of it. There's many ways of doing it. You can also just take a old petrol drum, half one, yeah? And you you put a car rim, for the car tire, and you put the drum against the rim like this, so it's open here to top. You see now you have the same shape again, the V shape. So you make your fire here, and you add the sticks. And by rolling the rim, you can adjust the angle, and you can adjust how strong the fire becomes or how little the fire. Yeah? And you can make enough charcoal like this for small garden. No? But really, charcoal is totally underestimated. It has a huge advantage. It brings carbon. Carbon is the most important mineral for anything on this planet. And it shouldn't be in the air. That's why we have climate change. That's why we've got big issues, because the carbon is in the air. It should be in the plants. Yeah. Basins.
Now, should I, if I want to put in charcoal, should I put in every hole or?
Do you also put manure with your holes?
Yes.
Okay, so then mix the charcoal with the manure.
So should I crush the charcoal?
No, it's not necessary. But if you take smaller sticks and you put it in a bag and you just jump around on it a few times, it's already crushed into smaller.
So I should mix it with manure.
If you mix it with your manure, then you add it one time, both of it.
Oh.
How much manure you put per basin? 1 cup? Or
I don't measure. I just
just a handful?
it depends from the. I don't do measurements.
Okay.
Yeah. I don't do measurements.
No, it's not about measurements. It's just about, when you, this is something we need to talk about a little bit as well, because somebody said, we went to a white man's farm and they were milking with their hands instead of with a machine. Machines only really make sense when things become very big. Yeah, you don't need machines for small farms. You don't. It's expensive and things break and you constantly spend money on fixing them. That's the reason men love tractors. Men love everything that goes and has wheels on. But those things just cost money, yeah? And we all run after these stupid machines instead of focusing on producing. And like I said, for my garden, I use 2 tools. One is a Chinese sickle, which I got in Zambia. It's a beautiful tool, and we need to make them here in Namibia. The other one is a cutting tool for cutting small trees. That's all I use. And in the beginning, the big fork to loosen.
Stephen, I was wanted to ask, if I want to make it like at my family, can I mix ash, and then the ones which is leftovers when you are crushing the wood, the ones of the cattle, ash, and what is it still? Can I mix it all together and use it as a compost?
Okay, it's not compost. So we haven't talked about compost yet. Compost is a very specific thing that we can still talk about. We should, because it's important. You can mix these things and it would be good. Anything you can bring in, the more variety, the more diversity you bring into your garden in terms of materials, but also in terms of plants, will make the system stronger.
Okay.
So ash you have to be careful with. Ash is great because it's full of minerals. So it's like chicken manure. Don't put too much. Just little.
Don't put too much
ash, because it also has the tendency to change your pH. Everybody know what pH? Okay, it's quite important actually. Yeah.
Okay, still reflecting on this, this is just to hear or get a better understanding of my business from the left. We do part of our work and the help of the land has become unfair.
Salty or what?
the nutrients went up with the water.
The nutritions went with the water.
Yes.
So
Central north, or where is this? The Funja in the central north.
yeah, yeah. They started experiencing and the fact that they are mostly almost natural farmers. They are being more lifestyles that are being
Yeah. And those are all salt-based fertilizers. Yeah.
what could be the best advice Take away that form into the soil.
Uh,
And
yes.
also, on the other hand, so there was start planting trees in the
No, you need to understand that the soils in the central north are sandy soils. Yeah. So it's a similar issue that you have. No, who was talking about sandy soils that the water is just dropping away. A lot of us have that issue. Yeah. The central north is like a huge sand dam. Yeah, it's got a lot of water underneath. When I lived in Ondangwa, I talked to hydrologists, and they told me if you drill from Ondangwa down, it takes 300 meters before you hit rock. 300 meters of sand. So during the rainy season, when there's big rains and the funja comes in, that sand fills up with water. I lived up there in 2009. I couldn't drive to where I was working for 3 months because the water was standing. Some houses where the water was here. Yeah. So it's like a dam. The whole thing is like a dam, but sand dams is actually a technique for dry lands. So you make a dam, but you fill it up with sand. It's full of water, but you can't see the water. It doesn't evaporate. That's what the central north is. So it's sand. The challenge with sand and water is that if the sand fills up with water, it brings the salt up. The upper layer gets very salty. Yeah. And when we have water coming in and it's filling up, it's always pushing the salt up, up. Now we go to the extension officer and we say our soil is poor. Give me some fertilizer. The fertilizer is salt-based fertilizer. We're putting more salt in our soil. So we're making the problem even worse. Yeah. The only solution is compost, organic material. We need to create this. Yeah. And the fertility, I don't think the fertility is really being washed out. There isn't much. Maybe the little bit that is there is washed out, but there isn't much to start. Yeah. But the salt is being pushed up constantly. Australia has the same problem. All the dry countries you go to have the same problem. Salt coming up. The whole of North Africa has got the same problem. I was in Senegal. You think, oh, there used to be a forest here. It's just a desert, and it's just salt. Yeah. So, so we really have to be careful what we're doing, and especially not just applying something for now, a result now that makes the situation worse in the long term.
Question. I'm not a
Yes.
farmer, but I bought here. Maybe I can still show it, but I just want to hear you. In the Sahel, they also have this huge areas where they can't grow, and then the World Food Program created like they dig
Half moons.
half moons. I've got the video here. They dig half moons, and that when it rains, the water stays in those little half moons, and then you'll see a whole ecosystem developing around.
It's the same thing we saw in Komok yesterday, the swale. This is much easier. Yeah, please. This is much easier to make because it goes faster and you make small individual ones. The swale, you need to get the level right. The level is not right. The water will run somewhere and you will create a lot of them. This thing is very easy because you actually make a lot of them. The water harvesting I still wanted to talk about. So you have one here, you have another one next to it. So when the water flows through it, you have a one that catches the water there. So they're like this. When the water is running down the landscape, it is collecting in these little dams. When it overflows, it will collect in that one. When this one overflows, it will collect in this one. So it collects in all these dams. And then they put seeds on the outside and seeds on the inside, but you don't have to. Seeds will disperse by themselves, but you can make it faster. And suddenly these become these little green islands. Now you've got photosynthesis happening. So you remember, we've got photosynthesis, so we've got all this life starting to happen. Suddenly you've got these islands of life. And that will have an effect to the areas around it very quickly. And suddenly the whole area becomes green. So this thing that is happening in the Sahel is the bottom of the Sahara Desert, from West Africa all the way to East Africa, all the way through. And all the countries along there have now agreed to work together to change that entire strip and stop the desert from moving further south. So now you can, from the moon, you can stand on the moon and look at North Africa and you can see the green strip growing bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger, because everybody's doing this now. In East Africa, people are doing this on a massive scale. Tanzania, Kenya, it's crazy. And it's easy to do. No? But we'll talk about water harvesting because it's so crucial. We can actually talk about it just now because water is a huge problem. You know, when you think of Namibia, where in the country is the most water? Kavango and Zambezi. Zambezi is completely surrounded by a river system. It flows like this and like this. It's actually quite interesting. It's one of the few river systems in the world, not the Zambezi, but the Nyanti and the Kwando actually sometimes flow like this and sometimes flow like this. Yeah, it's surrounded by water, but the people living there don't have water access. Yeah, it's like, what? How is that possible? Except for the one living right next to the river, nobody else has water. And the rest of the country, obviously, there is no, except when you're at the Oranje River or at the Kunene River or the Kavango River. But if you're not at the river, there's no water. We have to dig wells, or we have to drill holes to get to the water. So one thing I just want to say first, and you all should please listen, this is so, so important. A borehole is not going to be the solution. Because if we all put boreholes everywhere, we will all suck the water out of the earth very quickly, and then we're in a much bigger dilemma. Yeah? Like Clement said yesterday, they monitor their water in the borehole. As soon as the level is going down, they know, we're using too much. The level needs to be the same. Why? When we have a borehole in the ground, the water is not just in that hole in the pipe. The water is actually, so if we have a pipe that goes down and we've got our pump hanging in here, pumping the water up, the water is everywhere here in the landscape. That's the water table. When one talks about a water table, it's here. And it moves up and down in the landscape like the rocks and the mountains, not always straight. And sometimes there's another layer of water, and often that's the salty layer. You want to go through it. So somebody who drills needs to know what they're doing, otherwise they put the salty water into the good water. Yeah. So when I'm pumping the water up here, there needs to be enough water everywhere here to keep the level at the same level. If I pump too much, obviously it will drop. At some point it will drop. If the rain is falling on the land and it cannot go in, it's just running into the rivers and out into the sea or out somewhere else, like the Kavango River is running inland, it's going to Botswana. Then this one can never fill up again. So it will drop, It will go below the pipe, the pump. Eventually you will have to drill the hole deeper, or you lose the groundwater completely. So there are many boreholes that are going dry. People are pumping too much. No? And there are probably very few farmers in the country that actually monitor their borehole water use. Most of them. Hoping that they will survive. Like a grasshopper. Okay, so let's talk about this water thing. Like the elephant problem, the rhino problem, the baboon problem, the termite problem, we have to tackle water issues from many sides.
Then people were discussing about borehole.
Yeah.
Then they said that in Oceania region, it's not possible for drilling borehole, the whole region. What is the cause of that?
It could be that it's too sandy. You said, I said it was deep sand.
Yeah.
So drilling in deep sand is very complicated because as you're drilling, the sand is just falling in and clogging up the going is never makes a hole. When the machine comes back up, it's closed again. You have to put the casing in as you go. It's a very complex way of drilling. There are drilling rigs or setups that can do that. If the water is not too low, you can, you know, the concrete rings, you put the ring on and you dig and it slips deeper. You dig and it slips deeper. The big concrete ring.
Oh.
That's something you can do, but then you need to be able to dig. So it can only be up to about 10 meters, 15 meters.
Oh, I was thought maybe because the area is too short.
Oh yeah, that can be a problem.
Yeah,
Yeah, sure. That can be the reason why they say there's no point. Because
even
the
the
water's
salt
too
pen
salty.
is in our region.
Yeah. Salt is everywhere. There's salt everywhere.
Because after you know that the whole ocean, after the water dry from the ocean, this white.
Yeah, it's a clear sign of soil. But that's
all over the area.
the water is pushing the soil up.
Oh.
Salt up, sorry. And then when it drops down, it leaves the salt on top.
Yeah.
It doesn't take it back down again. So in some big agricultural systems, what they do is they pump a lot of water on the field to flush the salt back down again.
Oh.
But with the next rainy season, the salt comes back up again. So it's just a short solution.
Like in my area, the salt forms some kind of a scales, maybe the thickness of the glass.
Yes.
And at times you have to remove the cylinder, like replacement of cylinder very often. That's another costly
Is
way.
it the salt or the lime?
We call it scales.
Yeah, that's a calc. That's something else. That's
Isn't it caused by the salt?
No, that's not salt. I have the same problem. If we have a plastic pipe like this, pumping water to the kettle coal or something, maybe 2 years, then the inside of the pipe is like this. If you put a hole in the pipe, 2 weeks, and the hole is closed by itself. Everything. So
And is the hard water good for plants? Does not affect anything.
no, it has an effect. It always has an effect.
Especially, I went school at Gibeon and some of our teeth was getting stuff from drinking, and the hair was breaking down.
Yeah, exactly. So there's always an effect, and this is what why we need to talk about the pH scale. Yeah. So most plants like to grow somewhere between. So 7 is, you see, it's from 1 to 40. 7 is the middle. No? You can test your pH. You go to the pharmacy, you ask for pH tester, give you little papers, put it in your mouth, and it makes a color. And then you have a color chart, and you can check your own pH. Yeah? So for a lot of living organisms, this is where we want to be, somewhere between 6 and 8. Yeah? The further we go this way, the more acidic it becomes. The more we go this way, the more alkaline. So lime, what you were talking about, calc, that is alkaline. Yeah, it's on this side. Acidic, it's no, it's not salt. It's like lemon. Lemon is acidic. So you can take a lemon if you have a shower and it's getting white from the water, especially in the calcy areas. You take a lemon, you cut it half, and you go. It will dissolve the lime, yeah, because lemon is acidic and calc is alkaline, yeah. So plants want to be here. When we have big factories that put a lot of pollution out in the air, lots of trucks putting pollution, the air will get acidic. So in Europe, in America, in the countries where they have lots of factories, sometimes the rain is somewhere here. When this rain falls on the forest, it kills the forest. Not because of the acid, but because the acid dissolves aluminium in the soil. We have aluminium in all soils all over the world. Yeah? So we have to be careful that what we're doing doesn't go too much this way or too much. And in some parts, the water will be a bit more here. In some parts, the water will be. Yeah? And the hardness has an effect on the pH scale. There's so many things that affect the pH scale. Temperature affects the pH scale. So if we have too much heat on our soil pH changes. So many things.
I don't actually have water problems, but I just feel that our water is unhealthy because when we are watering the plants, started this year, when we are watering the plants, it's making a whitish foam on the top. Amper so
Foam?
skeim.
Okay, oof, all right.
So it makes so wet hierbo, skeim. And then later when it dries, here on the sides where
There's
that
a
foam,
crust.
it's hard.
Sounds like fun. Which area are you living in?
Oh my God.
Where exactly?
That side of Ebukiro.
Okay, yeah, no, I was thinking maybe you've got some mining activities close by that might change your
There's nothing there.
water.
Talking of climate.
Yeah.
Okay. Like, the village where I grew up in, it had a lot of water issue, water problem. That word I'm hearing now, it's been mentioned because there was a time where livestock were dying from taking this water. So the alcohol, whatever that word was mentioned, and then past it came as if it recovered.
Okay.
So we have two boreholes in the place. One is traditionally made, and one is the one that is drilled by the government. So we had these sites of when this side is the water is sour or it's salty, then the other side the water is fine. The past 3 years, I can say, we had experienced both of them are now coming to at an
Unhealthy
extent of being
level.
undrinkable. And I just came from there now. It's like there is aloe vera in the water. Even if you make pap with it, you will say, why would you have to put so much salt in the pap? And the reason why I'm talking about the mines, that is one of the area that has been that there were miners that were mining, but then now they left the site.
Yeah.
Even if you are walking around the landscape, we even had a tour, a group tour recently, and we know exactly that during rainy season the water must run on the stones, and it normally gets either greenish or either black, a sign that there was water running there.
Okay. Yeah.
But now the only thing that we are experiencing around that whole mountain stones where miners were somewhere up, you are now experiencing white. You see that there's a difference between that stone and that stone. The water running there is white. The water running there it's either blackish. You can see that the water was running there.
But what kind of mining is this? Is this mining for
There were
crystals?
granite miners. They were mining
Granite?
granite.
Like with big
Use it as a
machinery?
background.
We went there.
Okay, but that's a mechanical mining. That's kind of cutting and breaking it out.
Yes.
Yeah,
They
but
don't use
also
chemicals.
blast. They
They were
also
blasting,
the
Oh, they're
water.
blasting.
They use chemicals. And yes, and then she showed us how the water comes from the mountain because they broke up a whole mountain. They broke up a whole mountain with huge craters in the ground.
Yeah.
They didn't fence it off. Cattle and kids and anyone can fall into it. And from the top of the mountain, the water runs down, and then all those chemicals come down into the soil and affect the grazing. And then you have a very soft white, like a dust like residue, all over when you walk through it.
Like puffy kind
It's
of
like,
stuff.
yeah, it's like a dust, and then blows, the wind blows it all over. So it's really, it's really, the one person, the guy that was with us, Agnes said,
Yeah, no, it is. I mean, and we're doing this all over the world, you know, and a lot of us don't see these things because we might not be right next to a mine that does this, but it's happening everywhere. And in some cases on such a large scale, I mean, I've looked at, there's a website that focuses only on one mining company and what it does in Africa. And it's scary to see how many communities, and I mean, I'm talking about millions of people have been displaced or can't farm anymore because of activities like this.
They are being displaced. Because at that place, Agnes showed us, they just didn't have, there was a river, and the river fed another little dam where the animals used to go in winter for the water. And they just threw sand on into the little stream so that they could dry, and so it couldn't flow. So people couldn't graze the animals. And that community fought a long time, but now Heritage Council closed them down because those mountains have 2,000 and more thousands of years of rock engraving. And they just cut